What's up, everybody? This is Matt from the Crypto Coffee channel. Today we're going to talk about the price of HEX. And as you know, we've gone through a little bit of a dip in the past 2 months or so. And I think a lot of people are starting to get either short-term memory loss of some of the previous dips, which I have up on the screen before you, or they were never really believers in HEX in the first place. But this does seem to be bothering a lot of people. And if you're brand new and you bought the exact top, maybe I can see why, right? But really, guys, I'm just here to talk about all the bullish things that are going on in HEX and try to get you to see a perspective on HEX that I've always seen, that a lot of people are always seeing. The true Hexicans really do believe in this coin. We're going to talk about the bullish case as to why they do. So HEX just had a massive run up from under a penny to over 50 cents at one point. And we had a retracement down as low as about 18 or 17 cents. And as of today, we're sitting at about 23 cents. So although the prices of HEX are highly volatile, this is really no different than any other cryptocurrency out there, especially the younger ones, right? Bitcoin isn't as volatile as it used to be, but HEX is pretty volatile, just like Bitcoin was in the first 2 years. Now, if you want the mad gains that come from the highest appreciating asset class of all time, which is crypto, you need to be able to have the stomach for the volatility, right? The price you pay for the mad gains of the highest appreciating asset known to man is extreme volatility. And if you don't have the stomach for it, if it's going to bother you checking the chart day to day, I just want to remind you that maybe crypto is not for you at all, especially not HEX, okay? But if you have a long-term mindset to see the bigger picture and actually zoom out on the chart, I think you'll have no problem with the day-to-day movements of HEX if you can think in the time frames of months and years, okay? Crypto's not a days and weeks game, guys. You don't just get into the coin of the week, the flavor of the month, and get rich. You might hear about one person that happens to, but nobody talks about all the silent evidence out there of people that have lost all their money trying to chase the shiny object of the day, right? You don't hear about that. So if you want to go chase a meme coin named after a dog, feel free. But there's a reason that a lot of us are so gung-ho about HEX, and there's a reason we love it so much. Now I'll make this video short, but first of all, from a purely price performance perspective, what I have up here is the V1 chart for Uniswap on HEX, right? So this is how HEX is traded on Uniswap since inception, since the first couple of days that it's ever been traded. Now, if you just go to Dex.Vision and you go to the V2 chart, you're not going to see the full chart history, and that's because HEX has existed before Uniswap V2 came out. It was trading back when Uniswap V1 was out, and back when Uniswap was new. In fact, it helped make Uniswap popular. For months it was the most actively traded coin on there. So if you go to uniswap.hex.vision and you actually transfer over to the Uniswap V1 screen, you can see the same chart that I'm seeing today. And what I've done for you guys is highlighted all the dips that we've had in HEX since its inception so that you can actually zoom out and stop focusing on the most recent dip and really put things in perspective, guys. I'm just going to call them out right here. 81% dip in the first 20 days. After that, we had a 70% dip in 37 days. After that, later on, we had a big long stretch of a 67% dip. Then there was an event called Big Payday, in which we had an 85.9% dip. After that, there were a couple of bull flags that painted a 55% dip, a 45% dip, and a 48% dip, okay? Then we had the sacrifice phase for Pulse, which also resulted in a big run-up and then a 49% dip. And in the anticipation between now and the PulseChain launch, a lot of people got very excited. But it turns out that a lot of these people, some of them do become long-term stakers that really see the long-term vision of HEX, and some don't. And the ones that don't get impatient, they want to hop over to the next thing, and they don't have an investing mindset. They have a trading mindset and a short-term mindset, guys. And the truth is that this last dip has only been 69%. It's not even the biggest dip we've seen. And not to mention we've seen at least 9 others like it. And HEX makes new all-time highs every time. But what I want to really drive home is the point that us in HEX that are so excited about it, that are actually making the money from it, we're long-term investors, guys. It's a long-term hold of a coin. So if you're not staking for at least a year out with the intention of having a ladder that's on a multi-year time frame, you're not going to be able to see the gains that a lot of us have already seen and are currently making every single day. If you're going to try to trade HEX, guys, if you're going to try to trade anything, 90% of traders lose money over time. If you think you're going to be part of that 10%, well, good luck to you. But all I can really say is that from everybody I've personally known and talked to, myself included, it's really just a matter of when, not if, you're going to lose money. So I really hope that if you decide to be a trader, that either you are in the top 10% of all traders, or that you lose very quickly and that you learn your lesson quickly, because it really is not fun to watch people lose their money in such a drawn-out way, going to the casino over and over again, trying to make their money back on the trade they just won, or getting overconfident because maybe you made a good trade, and then your overconfidence kicks your ass on the next trade. So it's an age-old story time and time again. HEX is doing what it's always done, and really, a lot of the people that are staked for the long term aren't even batting an eye at a chart like this. Now, what a lot of people are going to do is they're going to zoom in on this little segment of the chart, right? And they're also going to make it a linear chart, right? So from a linear perspective, guys, it looks like HEX is having this huge crash, but you want to make things logarithmic, just like how most long-term Bitcoin charts are logarithmic, because with the exponential growth that HEX has experienced, it can't really be seen on a linear chart like this. So a naive investor could look at a linear chart like this and say, oh, HEX was worth nothing from December 30th all the way to July 2021. That's not true at all, guys. Look at how much price activity was happening in that time on the linear chart. Multiple X's of gains were made. So there's also this bias, maybe for a new investor that doesn't understand the difference between a linear and a logarithmic chart, that the price of this coin was flatlining in the first year. That's not true at all, guys. There was some crazy price action in the first year. And now approaching HEX's 2-year anniversary, HEX is doing what it's always done, with a dip as of lately, which historically has always been a great buying opportunity for HEX. Now, a lot of people are coming at this from the angle that they missed the boat on HEX, right? And that's just such a losing mindset to have if you're talking about HEX. I feel bad for people that feel that way, because HEX is only 2 years old. And if you count the first year as the launch phase, which it really was, the first year HEX existed, it was technically in a launch phase, then you could say HEX is still less than 1 year old, right? So it's coming up on its 2-year anniversary since inception on December 2nd, 2019. And people that ask the question, oh, did I miss out on HEX? I missed out on HEX, so all I care about is buying Pulse now. That's completely the wrong attitude, guys. HEX is a store of value designed to last on a multi-year time frame. We've got holders that are provable on the blockchain. We've got 70,000 stakers stake for an average length of 5.7 years. All the way up from as low as 1 day to as high as 15 years. These people are voting with their actions that they believe HEX isn't going anywhere, and it's true, guys. So yeah, PulseChain is another really bullish thing, but it's not so binary of, oh, I missed out on HEX, now the only chance I have is PulseChain. First of all, guys, if you're buying HEX now, you're going to get a copy of all your coins on the PulseChain network when it forks from Ethereum. So the people that are selling right now before the PulseChain fork, it really blows my mind, because why wouldn't you want a copy of free coins over on the world's biggest airdrop, which is basically PulseChain. Now, if you do want to buy Pulse on day one, let's say you missed the sacrifice phase, or you feel like you're too late for the sacrifice phase, and I do agree that you are pretty late coming into the sacrifice phase, so I wouldn't really recommend sacrificing any money right now to get Pulse. But if you want to buy it when it hits the open market on day one, you're probably going to want to have some HEX, because one of the primary trading pairs, one of the first trading pairs that'll ever exist on PulseChain is going to be the PLS HEX pair. So rather than having to bridge USDC over, why not have some HEX ready to buy up any dips in the Pulse price? Or if you see the Pulse price going really high and you see the HEX price starting to die off a little bit, maybe you'd want to sell some PLS at the high and buy some HEX at the dip. You just want to expose yourself to having the most options, right? You want to expose yourself to a little bit of everything with these coins, because they're all doing very different things, right? PulseChain is really just like a new Ethereum, whereas HEX was intended to be a store of value like Bitcoin. So I like to say that HEX is a better Bitcoin while PulseChain is a better Ethereum. They're two totally different things. So personally, I want to have the store of value that's been the highest appreciating crypto so far. I mean, this has made more millionaires than any other crypto I'm aware of. But I also want to own some Pulse, because I want to be on the network that is primarily driving the HEX ecosystem. PulseChain was created to free the hexicans, basically. And although anybody can build on top of PulseChain, and it's going to be cheap and nearly free to transact, so it's going to be a great environment, it was primarily intended to save people from outrageous gas fees in HEX. In order for Richard Hart to nurture the HEX community and save them from paying $1,000 to end a stake, we need this alternative system. And any other existing ERC20 can hop over too. And I'm sure a lot of new projects and new forks of projects will also start building on PulseChain. But guys, if you're bearish on HEX right now at the time where historically it's been the best time to buy, let me just briefly touch on a couple of bullet points to look forward to, right? Look at the GitLab over here, the Go Pulse GitLab, and look at all the merge requests that have been approved even just a week ago. There is so much active development happening on Pulse, with rumors of it launching soon. I'm not buying into these rumors, guys, but the fact of the matter is PulseChain could launch any day now, or at least the snapshot date could launch any day now. And if you're not holding HEX at the time of the snapshot, you're not going to get the copy on PulseChain. I mean, it's as simple as that. So to sell off now just seems kind of ridiculous. So go to the GitLab yourself if you want to see all the development activity going on. Some of the most recent merge requests were adding PulseChain mainnet and testnet v2, right? There's a new version of the testnet out to make the final finishing, to fix the final issues, and then it looks like they're gearing up for mainnet if I had to look at this and try to analyze it. Look at all the issues that were recently closed. Over 20 issues and only one that's still open, which is a spelling mistake, right? It doesn't seem that big. So they're fixing a lot of issues day by day. Progress is being made. Bookmark this page and see for yourself. I mean, PulseChain is right around the corner, and it's really going to change the game of crypto as we know it, especially for the HEX ecosystem, right? We've got a documentary coming out, guys. You guys heard of The Highest of Stakes? It's a documentary. You can go to thehighestofstakes.com, and you can check out, this really awesome trailer from a very professional documentary crew. Imagine when something like this is on Netflix or Hulu, right? Imagine the amount of reach it's going to get for the HEX brand name, right? HEX might become a household name faster than Bitcoin did. I mean, with stuff like this, real marketing, real engagement, this is going to boost the price of HEX massively. And you can donate to this if you want, or if you want to be in the film too, you can actually nominate your own story. That's just one of many bullish things going on, guys. I mean, what else is there going on? Have you guys heard of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust? I specifically have heard of people working on a similar thing, but for HEX. This would almost be like a HEX version of Grayscale. Now, why is this bullish, guys? A lot of people don't cover why this is bullish. In order to understand why it is, let's look into what the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust actually does. It's a new type of fund that explores the value of Bitcoin in novel ways. How does it work? Well, the idea behind GBTC is that it represents and it tracks the price of Bitcoin. And how it does that is it pools together a bunch of wealthy investors to basically give cash into the fund, and it uses that money to buy Bitcoin. Guys, what happens when you buy a coin? The price goes up. It's very simple. That's how the price of anything goes up, when people buy it. So what Grayscale is doing is taking investor money and using it to buy Bitcoin. And next, they place the fund on public stock exchanges, thus exposing it to really big money on Wall Street and allowing anybody to buy and sell shares of basically a fake Bitcoin or a digital representation of Bitcoin that goes up and down kind of similar to the movements of Bitcoin. So it kind of tracks the price of Bitcoin underlying. But what that means is that because people aren't actually trading the Bitcoin, and Grayscale's buying up all this Bitcoin just to say that they're backing GBTC as an index, they're basically a giant entity that just keeps buying Bitcoin and never sells. And in fact, they currently hold, as of 2021, 650,000 Bitcoin. That's about 5% of all the Bitcoin in existence, right? I mean, that's crazy, guys. So what happens when an entity is just buying up a whole bunch of coins and then letting people trade an ETF that is not related at all to the actual asset? Well, the price goes up, guys. And can you imagine if something even remotely similar to Grayscale happened for HEX? And I could say with reasonable confidence, whether it's, this month or 6 months from now or 2 years from now, people are working on this, and we're going to see this in reality at some point in the future. Again, I don't give promises of future work, right? But I'm very certain that at some point in the future, this is going to exist. Why wouldn't you want to get into HEX before something like this comes out? Guys, there are 7.753 billion people in the world, right? That's a lot of people on Earth, right? 7.75 billion. And there are 70,000 stakers right now, okay? And this is a screenshot directly from the Staker app. At a rate of 5 stakes per user, we can estimate that there's about 14,000 real individual stakers. And stakers are the most important people in HEX because they're the ones voting with their actions, locking up their money for years, and basically holding the price up because they just lock up supply and don't sell. Right? So with 14,000 stakes and 7.7 billion people in the world, that means that 0.0000018% of the total population owns HEX. What if we went even a couple decimal places over to the left? What if we went all the way to 1%? Can you imagine if even 1 in 100 people owned HEX? Going from the price we're at now, at 0.0000018% of the population owning HEX, and HEX is already done at 10,000x. I mean, imagine if even 1% of the population holds HEX. Guys, I'm trying to put things in perspective because a lot of people are thinking about the most recent 2 months of their life and can't project forward that HEX isn't going anywhere, and in fact, it's just getting started. In fact, when PulseChain launches, we'll be able to really unleash advertising to expose HEX to the most amount of eyeballs and really adopt a lot of new people because it won't cost $50, $200 to onboard somebody, right? Try onboarding somebody today into any Ethereum token, including HEX, right? They're going to have to pay a massive fee just to get their money out of Coinbase, and then they're going to have to pay $200 to swap from one coin to another on Uniswap. And then if they want to stake their HEX, that's another $50. Guys, most people aren't coming in with over $1,000 for all these little guys that just want to test out the system and see if it works or not. They're all priced out of the system. So what PulseChain is going to do is it's going to unlock the rest of these 7.75 billion people that don't have an arm and a leg to spend on gas fees, which are outrageous on Ethereum right now, guys. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of topics on the top of my mind. You've got so much in the works. I've been hearing about a direct USD to HEX on-ramp being built in the future. Obviously, all this stuff is going to be so much more smooth and seamless when PulseChain exists and when we can pay pennies on the dollar for every transaction. When it's going to take 3 seconds to send money and cost less than a penny to send, it's going to unlock the whole world. So again, let's just zoom out on the chart right now. And I mean, we've got a nice pump today. We're back at almost a quarter per HEX. So things are looking good. But what I'm saying is this is nothing new in the grand history of HEX. HEX is designed to be a store of value, right? It's designed to last multiple years. It's designed to outlast our lifetime, right? So if you feel like you missed the boat on HEX, try to imagine buying Bitcoin when it was 2 years old, right? When Bitcoin was 2 years old, it was about $6, right? That'd be like saying, oh, Bitcoin was a penny, a couple years ago. Now it's $6. There's no way I'm going to buy Bitcoin at $6. I understand that it is hard to wrap your head around the massive potential of cryptocurrencies. I mean, I don't know if I would have believed that Bitcoin would ever go to $10,000 if I had heard about it in 2010. I heard about Bitcoin in 2015. So I bought my first at about $200, $300. And I remember feeling crazy excited when Bitcoin hit $10,000. I had no idea it would ever hit $60,000. And now I don't care about Bitcoin at all because I feel like I found something better. I feel like I've genuinely found a better store of value with better game theory, with no admin keys. It's a totally decentralized protocol. It's going to exist whether you like it or not. HEX is unstoppable code. Okay, it's just a smart contract. HEX is really just an idea expressed into 2,000 lines of code that exists on the Ethereum blockchain and is getting copied over to the PulseChain blockchain. So, like or hate Richard Hart or any of this stuff, it doesn't really matter. HEX is a completely finished product. It exists on its own right now. And to me, just looking at this tasty chart here, a 69% dip, it looks like a buy opportunity, right? Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. But if you're thinking about getting into HEX, this is why I'm bullish. You have to take responsibility for your own actions. If you bought the top and you sold at the low, that's your responsibility. If you couldn't see more than a couple weeks out into the future, or if you think you're a trader, or if you want to hop over to the next dog-themed coin of the day, again, that's up to you. You take responsibility for your own actions. Crypto is about self-sovereignty and self-responsibility. If you want financial freedom, you need to be responsible for yourself. But I believe that HEX really does have the power to make millions of people truly wealthy if you play the system how it's supposed to be played on a long-term time frame. Okay? I like to say that HEX is a get-rich-slow scheme, not a get-rich-quick scheme. But what do I mean by get-rich-slow? Well, I see potential for people to get rich in HEX if in the next 2 to 3 years. Now, that might seem like a long time to you, but would you rather work a 9-to-5 job in the rat race for 30 years just to get your 401k to barely scrape by and play it safe? To me, it's too risky to sit on the sidelines, and it's too risky to just watch and do nothing. You owe it to yourself to get financial freedom sooner or later, so, why not sooner? Think about what you deserve in your life, guys. But then also think about what's realistic, right? Crypto is the highest appreciating asset class, but again, it's also the most volatile asset class, and that scares a lot of people. A lot of people also are very greedy and very short-term minded. Maybe they want to invest in a single coin, have it pump up 5-10x in a week, and take all their profit. But guys, the timing never works out for these people. You're going to hear about one 18-year-old kid in a news story that it worked out for, but you're never going to hear about the hundreds of people that lost trying to chase the hype or find the next fad or people just getting outright scammed. It happens all the time. So patience is a virtue, guys, and patience has paid off for the Hexicans, the ones that are actually holding long-term and staking. It's paid off tenfold, hundredfold, thousandfold for many of us, and I know it can do the same for all these people. We're less than 2 years old as a coin. Imagine buying Bitcoin when it was less than 2 years old. And yeah, I think PulseChain is going to do great too. But I'm bullish on both HEX and PulseChain, and by no means will I ever think that HEX is quote-unquote dead, right? So that's my rant for today, guys. Again, keep calm, stay calm, and I'll see you in the next video.